My name is Trevor Lobel. I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa. I'm an independent Salesforce consultant. I was involved with a nonprofit that was looking for a system. They were using spreadsheets and Google Docs, and it was quite a mess. They were not only trying to keep track of the donation process, but also of the interventions that they were providing. This was a literacy program. And they wanted to monitor the progress that the learners were making as a result of the intervention. And I did quite a bit of research, came up with a couple of options, but Salesforce appealed to me the most, simply being able to access the platform via a browser or a device, even though there weren't mobile apps when I started working with Salesforce. But the wonderful thing about Salesforce is that they provide 10 free enterprise licenses to every nonprofit. And I've subsequently found out through some of my clients who failed to use the system that if you don't use it, if you don't use the platform, they'll take it away from you. But it was a combination of three things that have always fascinated and interested me and drawn me, and that is technology, systems, and people. And working with Salesforce is where those three entities meet perfectly. Service Cloud was the most difficult one. And it's interesting that the certification was the most challenging, and yet I most enjoy working with Service Cloud. And the simple reason for that is that with Service Cloud, you control the situation. In an opportunity in Sales Cloud, with an opportunity or with a lead, the lead or the opportunity contact person, they call the shots, they make the decision. It's pretty much out of your control, but being able to provide excellent service, excellent follow-up through Service Cloud, you control it. So that's just an interesting thing that I found. But that was the most difficult one that I did. What I learned over the 4 certifications is look very carefully at the study outline. I literally had checked, do I know all the answers to this specific line, to this specific part of the exam? Become very comfortable with the material that Focus on Force provides. I think the content is outstanding. So be fully comfortable and understand the content. And the other thing is real life configuration and practice. Try building an approval process or an escalation process. Try actually physically do the work. I think it is impossible to pass any exam. When I say impossible, it's very difficult to pass any exam without actually doing the stuff yourself, without actually configuring and doing it yourself. And the reason I say that is that there are usually questions that are close but slightly misworded. I spend a lot of time around validation rules and reports and dashboards. I usually start off with a stand-up. The first one's at 9 o'clock. And then what I like to do is I like to action anything that came about from that particular stand-up. I've got at 9, 10:30, and 2 stand-ups. So I've kind of tied down at that time. I like to follow up straight away with any action items from the stand-ups. But generally speaking, I do a lot of work around validation rules. I do a lot of work around reports and dashboards. I like to make myself available. I like my clients to know that if they drop me an email or they send me a WhatsApp, that they're going to get a response almost immediately. And the other thing that's pretty important to me is helping others. So I've got quite a large network here in South Africa of other Salesforce consultants, and we often get together and bounce ideas off each other and get assistance. Absolutely. I don't think it's just dependent on a career in Salesforce. It's important, generally speaking. And communication skills involve, I think, a lot of things, not only being able to explain something and slow down and have the patience to realize that people aren't getting it, but also to listen to what they require. The other very important thing about communication skills is to say no. I'll get a request, for example, for a validation rule that's very complex, and I'll know it'll conflict with something, and I'll say, listen, it can be done, but it's very complex. It's going to take me a long time, and it's going to cost you money. So I think part of the communication skills is not being able to listen to others, to express yourself, but also to be able to say no, or to say, I won't be able to do it today, I'll do it this week. Or I won't be able to do it this week, I'll be able to do it next month. So that ability to say no is just as important in those communication skills. You know, I tell people that you actually only need one resource, and that's Focus on Force. So I use Focus on Force for Sales Cloud, for Service Cloud, and for Platform App Builder. I think your content is outstanding. I think it's absolutely brilliant. You know, there are other very good resources out there, but I wouldn't prepare for any exam without taking on a couple of modules from Focus on Force. It is my number one selection and recommendation for any certification. I would not hurry up and tell friends and colleagues I'm sitting the exam on Monday in case it goes wrong. A lot of people fail. So not to be disheartened at all by failing the first time or the second time for that matter. I've known people that have failed administrator 3 times and now they have far more knowledge and experience than me. So don't be put off by failing an exam.